Why are our rates going up? What is that all about?
Great question. First, Jackie, I want to say thank you so much for inviting both of us to be a part of this. You are um, uh, such a resource for your community and for your clients as well. And so I love that three of us were able to kind of partner together to deliver some information to folks in our community. Like you, this is home for me. And so it's a very relevant issue that not only affects me in the insurance world, but me personally as a homeowner who lives in the foothills. So I guess I'll kind of jump in with some of these questions, a little bit of background that kind of give some details on why we're in the situation where we are. Um, Most insurance companies kind of saw a shift right around the time of the Marshall Fire. And you'll know that that's about 1,100 homes that were damaged. I think the numbers are coming in at somewhere around $2 billion for that loss. So a large scale loss. A little bit of a surprise knowing that it was not in an area that we think of like in our mountain community with dense trees. It was much more of a suburbanish kind of event. And so that triggered a lot of insurance companies to really take a look at their risk that is now present in the state of Colorado. And so since that time that we had that fire, we've seen companies really make changes and choices, many of them that were hard choices on consumers, whether that be they opted to either pull out of the mountains, or whether that be they opted to leave Colorado altogether, or whether that be that they were going to stay but raise the rates. And so a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you have an insurance company, you want it to be there for you when you need it in the event of a claim. And so I applaud the companies for, those of them who maybe not have been as financially stable as the big guys, and making that decision that the risk is too high for us. So that was kind of when we first started to see that shift. Other things, that fire was kind of in the realm of when COVID happened, and everybody kind of goes back to COVID. But a lot of those things are having relevancy to what's driving costs and whether companies are opting to stay in the market. Everything is becoming more expensive. You go to the grocery store and eggs are more expensive, gasoline's more expensive, everything is more expensive. And so that means that when claims happen, especially those with regards to homes, that's involving labor that's become higher than it was before COVID. Materials are becoming higher. And so all of that for a company that is paying to get you back to whole, they're having to absorb more costs. And so that's another factor kind of going into that. Also, in the foothills, the topic that is top of mind is fire, and we're all very aware of it. We're, conscious of it. But if you'll think back to last June, we had one of the largest hail events for evergreen and kind of pushing into conifer that we've had in a while. That was a hail event, so it wasn't even a fire event. And so that factor coupled with our risk of fire is really what's driving a lot of the rates to better pair the risk of living here in our beautiful community with the premiums so that if something does happen, companies are able to get you whole. There's other factors, on the back end that most folks don't even realize, like reinsurance. So most folks don't realize that insurance companies have insurance. And so that market has become more expensive so that if large scale events happen, some of that cost is covered by other insurance policies. And so part of that, all of those factors have kind of created this perfect storm. And so we're just in that situation where we are looking to best manage helping folks get coverage while also, maintaining the factors that have driven those rates up. So that's a little bit of background on kind of what we've seen.
And there's a little bit more to it. If you actually research the losses in Colorado, the last 8 out of 11 years, Colorado insurance company has lost money due to claim payouts. And a lot of it is due to the hail claims that we have. Colorado is actually number 2 in the United States. Texas is number 1. So with that huge exposure, it causes the rates to also increase.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, especially for us living in the foothills, they think about fire first, but you're right. I mean, hail is going to be all across the Front Range, down the plains, the flatlands, down the hill in Denver, and for us. And that Evergreen storm was a pretty big impact last year for sure. So what is like actual cash value versus replacement cost? Can you talk a little bit about what that means in terms of policy rates?
When it comes to understand actual cash value versus replacement cost means that your items are going to be replaced. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter when you got them. They are going to be replaced. Actual cash value is you're taking that replacement cost and you are depreciating it every year that it's old. So an actual cash value, whether that is on a home, on your dwelling, you can have an actual cash value on your dwelling or on your personal property. What that means is they're going to take the replacement cost and they're going to minus so much each year that your house or your items are old. Each insurance company has kind of their own different calculations on that to know exactly what amount would be depreciated. With that, with the policy side of it, an actual cash value policy will actually be cheaper than a replacement cost because insurance companies are paying less out due to a claim on an actual cash value policy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's like one way you could get a discount, but you know, I've heard people say, well, you know, what about my roof or the age of my roof, or if I have a metal roof versus, you know, composition shingle, does that make any difference? Or maybe it's high, you know, impact resistant, that's going to help you. I mean, do you see those things when it comes to quoting out insurance?
Absolutely. And kind of to go to that next bullet point, first, I'll preface by saying that, you know, having both Dusty and I here, each of us kind of give a perspective on our own respective companies. And so what you'll learn is that things differ across company to company to company. And so discounts that may be available with one might not be available with another company, you know, kind of how they set up their policies. And so just to highlight, you know, having both of us here as insurance experts. Many folks likely have their agent. And so I would always encourage them to reach out to their agent and ask those specific questions about their specific policy, because us having a discussion about what State Farm offers is not as relevant as somebody knowing very clearly about what their policy is going to cover should they have a loss. To kind of go down to that discount question, absolutely. Each company has different discounts. State Farm offers one, a pretty sizable one for an impact resistant roof. And those kinds of things that go into that. I'm not sure about what Farmers has, but those are those conversations that are important for you to sit down with your agent. Frequently, I always encourage folks to come in at least once a year and let us take a look at, do you have appropriate coverage in place? Are you taking advantage of every discount? You know, did you decide to replace your roof and you forgot to tell your insurance agent? And that could be a discount we're getting. So those are things that are important for folks, especially now, to be cognizant of making time, just like you would if you go to the dentist, you know, twice a year, or your checkup at your doctor, about making time for that insurance checkup to make sure it's keeping pace with your life and how things may have changed around your house, because your insurance agent doesn't necessarily know if you've added on an addition, if you've finished out a basement, if you've replaced that roof.
That's such a good point. You know, we all get our renewals in the mail and then it ends up in the shredder, right? So open it up and read it and call your agent, make sure you're covered, right?
Right.